I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
So Sarah, Rod with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. We're going to look at consent items. I would take a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll move to approve a consent item.
I'll second that.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns? No. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. I was just trying to, okay. Looks like we're communication from the public.
So
Doesn't look like there is any.
I do have an email.
Oh, okay.
So this was one, so it went to City Hall this morning, and then was forwarded to myself and Mike Schulte. I reached out to Mike and have not heard back from him, so I'm thinking maybe he was off today, because usually he's pretty quick to respond. to
Remind me, is that the Public Works Director?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the email is from Jean Eichelberger. And it says, as a board member of the Indian Point Homeowners Association, I'm asking on behalf of the homeowners what the city has planned for the landscaping area just south of the Polk City Library. Over half of our homes overlook this strip of land from our decks and have watched the bag bugs, deer, and overgrowth destroy the foliage that was planted there over the last few years. We also lost 4 maple trees in the derecho, so it's feeling very open where those trees had been. We're going to be on the lookout for bagworms again this year, and if they return, I hope there is something you can do that will kill them before they kill the trees and the bushes. Thank you for your consideration of our request for landscaping behind the library.
Okay.
So, I've reached out to Mike, but I didn't hear from him today.
Okay. Well, since we just got that letter and it's not on the agenda, it's not something that we can talk about tonight,
Correct.
but let's table it, put it on for next month, and then hopefully by then you'll have a conversation with Mike, and then I'll make sure that I go back and look at it as well. Between now and then, maybe I would recommend our other board members just kind of look at the area so you have a little bit of knowledge of what we're talking about next month. Does that sound fair?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll note that communication from the public as a letter and then the name, and I can get that from you in a little bit, for sure. Director's report.
All right. So our March circulation was up by 670 checkouts compared to February. I will attribute that to it not being 31 below zero. Library patrons saved about $29,000 in March by using the library. Plus they checked out 25 puzzles. We did 25 passport applications in March, and 15 of those were done the week that I was gone. They were hopping. So yeah, the library made about $1,200 in passport fees in the month of March. And I had kind of thought we might make $1,500 a year doing passports. So
awesome.
we have 3 passport appointments tomorrow. We've got one on Friday or on Wednesday. It is a very, very popular service. And I would say 90% of them are not Polk City residents. So in fact, one of them went to be, she said, I worked downtown, but the courthouse or wherever you go, she's like, they're not doing them. And when I asked them where to get one, they told me to go to the Polk City Library.
Really?
So
That's fun.
So definitely that's keeping us hopping. So, and then in March, people used 7 adventure passes. So they're starting to come back to life as well. Our End of quarter, our circulation was up this quarter compared to second quarter by about 370 checkouts. And then just some stats that you may have seen. I was putting them on Facebook over the course of the last week. They were just statistics from March 16th of 2020, which is the day that we closed the library, through March 15th of 2021. So that, you know, in that 1 year time period, although we were closed, we circulated nearly 23,500 items. We offered 225 online programs for adults that were attended by 1,885 individuals. We offered 142 online programs for youth that were attended by 4,928 individuals. And we had 345 people participate in our online summer reading program. So I'm like, I felt that those were pretty impressive stats, all things considered. If you've been up by the library recently, you'll notice the new pergola and furniture. Public Works put all of that together and installed it on March 22nd. We're getting lots of really good feedback on that. We are taking the cushions and everything in every night, and they won't be out if it's raining, things like that, just to kind of prolong their life. This week is National Library Week. So we've got little things that we're giving out each day. Wednesday, so I'll preface this. So when we did, you know, the city had us send out donation request letters, went to all of the businesses in the city's pretty much mailing list back towards the end of February, early March. And we've gotten some donations. It was a joint letter with us and Parks and Rec. And so we were getting some good feedback or good response to that. But she also wanted something that went out to, like, via social media to just residents of Polk City. So we've been posting kind of leading up. Wednesday of this week is what is National Library Giving Day. So in talking with Chelsea, we decided we were just going to partner kind of with that. And so I sent out an email blast last week, and then there've just been Facebook posts leading up to that. But even with that, we've raised about $400 in donations from individuals just making early donations since that went out. So we're happy with that.
So Jamie, when you guys are, when you are, not, I don't say advertising, but do you have something in mind for those funds? Just curious.
So those are ones that Chelsea's like, it's just going to go into programming just so that we can do more things at the library.
Okay.
The Friends of the Library fundraiser at Polk City Nutrition raised about $450 for that outdoor furniture. So that paid for pretty much one set of the furniture. Then the Friends used some of their funds to pay for the other set. Like I said, the pergola came out of the library's budget. Our new website is not quite live yet. We're still waiting on some editing permissions. One thing that is nice, so the Institute of Museum and Library Science Services, which is kind of the national, you know, received an increase in federal funding this year of about $200 million, and 178 million of that is going to be distributed among the state library agencies. So the State Library of Iowa will be getting funding with a minimum of $2 million. And so they're conducting surveys right now with libraries and stuff, trying to figure out, you know, how they're going to spend that money to benefit the libraries the most. But that's a nice infusion of funds to help with a lot of different things. The state library also conducted a survey of Iowa libraries and the services they're currently providing. 74% of Iowa libraries require patrons to wear a mask when they're in the library. About 90% now are open for in-building browsing and computer use. And only about 51% of the libraries are planning to continue offering virtual programming, which, like I said, we'll continue with that here for a while. And we're thinking even a lot of our things going forward, it's a way to reach the homebound and things like that. So we may have a lot of Zoom even once we're out of this. And then another thing, the city is exploring options for basically VoIP or internet phone service in all of the departments. City Hall switched to that a while ago. And that's going to result in a cost savings of at least $100 a month for the library. But they're still working out all those options. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
Very good. You know, I just was realizing something as I was looking at the notes. Ron's on, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure. I was like, who's Ron? And then I'm like, oh, Ron is on. Perfect. Okay. I didn't know if everybody else was aware of that. Okay. Thanks for the information. I see Corey's on now too. Let's see, moving on to getting through my, so Ron is here, so we will have him do the liaison report if he has anything to report.
Well, I just have some good news. Chelsea sent a note that we're gonna receive, and we're in line for a $500,000 grant for trail extension, which is something that we plan on doing anyway, and then $250,000 grants. They're from STBG, whoever that is, and HTT. I have no idea who those people are, but we're in line for some grant money. That's not a sure thing yet, but we could get. So that seems to be good news, because that'll leave more money to spend elsewhere. And I will go up too and take a look at that landscaping behind the library. I'm not even sure what that is, and maybe we can get Jason Morris involved and get some plantings out there. And I'm really not sure what it's like back there. Isn't much space back there behind the library, is there?
No, there's not. In fact, I had to reach out to Jenny to find out exactly where our property line was, because I wasn't sure.
Well, I will follow up on that, and we'll see what we can do. And if it's something that complements the library, we'll be sure to do that. But other than that, that's about all I have. Well, supposedly it's official, we're getting a Mexican restaurant
Very
down on the
nice.
square in the old P&M Apparel building. So
Any
although I
idea
haven't
of,
seen
like,
any activity,
time frame?
no, and I haven't seen any activity down there yet, but it sounds exciting anyway. I
Sure.
hope it's true.
Yeah, Bridget says they'll be open by June.
Oh, nice.
They've gutted the entire building and they're working inside, so
Oh, are they? Good. Good.
that's what Bridget told me.
I should have talked to you first, Jamie. You're better informed than I am.
You just
Thank
gotta
you.
talk to Bridget.
That's
Ron.
about all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's see. So it looks like then that takes us to, I'm trying to manage my two different documents so I can put notes in at the same time. So board education, I guess that's me. So I looked at the trustee handbook, chapter 3 and 6. And so, Rod, note that we're starting board education at 6:46, please. So chapter, sorry, my watch was gonna help with that. Chapter 4 was about the 5 basic responsibility of a library board. So number 1 is to hire the library director. We are tasked with obtaining and hiring the library director, and then the library director is tasked with managing the daily operations of the library. The second item was that we're tasked with is approving and monitoring the budget. So, we obviously have a great deal of authority over the budget, approving expenditures, moving funds between line items. I know we give Jamie a lot of autonomy to do that, but that's just one of the second things that as a board we're tasked with that responsibility. The third thing is developing and adopting policies. Obviously, we're all knowledgeable about that because we've been doing that for a while and have been involved in it. You know, even Rod got into it right away too. So, you know, I think the important thing to remember is that the policies are public policies for public service. So it's a little bit different than if we all, you know, create policies in our workplace. You know, those are just correlate to the employer or the place that we work, but the policies that we help create or that we create are for the entire public that utilize our library. You know, it cautioned us to stay away from, you know, drafting policies that are like punitive or reactionary, that we need to keep community interest in the forefront. Then the fourth item is planning, which is obviously a continuous process. Any decisions we make are based on the community, the betterment of the community, and that we should make those decisions based with input from the community. You know, we should take surveys. We need to make sure that we keep their interests there because we were appointed to represent them. You know, any service that we're providing, we should wonder, you know, we should be cognitive about, is it serving the public or not? And then the fifth item is evaluating the service. So we need to advocate for advancements. The community puts their faith, the kind of the quote that I wrote down is the community puts its faith in the library board to make sure that the library is operating within public trust. So part of that number 5, evaluating the services, rolls into evaluating the director's job performance, but we should also be evaluating our own performance. You know, are we focusing on finding adequate funding for projects and programs? Are we focusing on technology advancements? Are we doing our part as board members to focus on, you know, fostering community relationships? Are we supporting library staff, whether it's salaries, benefits, etc.? So those were the 5 areas that we are responsible for in our role as a library board. That was chapter 3 or 4. Did I read the right chapter?
I think that was probably 3. I think 4 has to do with hiring a library. And so we decided we didn't really need to focus on that because.
Okay. I must have wrote down the wrong one, but that was okay. So chapter 3. Any questions on that before I go to chapter 6? Okay, so chapter 6 is developing and adopting policies. So the big topic, I guess, of this chapter is that creating and developing and adopting policies is one of the most essential responsibilities of board members. Policies are necessary. They're a major area of the board responsibility. Public library standards, as we all know, have policy implications, like we have to maintain our certain standards. There's legal and ethical aspects to the policies we create. We want to make sure that in our policies that we're demonstrating credible business practices, that we're providing opportunity for public education, and that we're supporting the library mission and purpose in every policy that we create. It focused on that we need to develop policies, not just write policies, that we really need to study the issues and the needs, that we need to gather the facts, that we need to deliberate on the issues, which I think we do a pretty good job of, and that we should review policies every, 3 years. And we need to, as we implement policies, we need to make sure that we observe and we change it as needed if we need it. So not just within that 3-year time frame. If we, help develop a policy and we see in 6 months that it needs to be altered a little bit, we need to make that alteration at that time, not wait. We just kind of have to observe and change as needed. Board policies are outlined. The board outlines the policies and the staff director writes the procedure. So, we come up with the policy and then the director and her staff will kind of write the procedure, come up with the procedure, how they're going to enact the policy. The steps to develop a policy, number 1 is anticipate the need, try to be proactive, not reactive. 2, gather the facts. The director is on top of changes, problem issues. You know, obviously Jamie's very good about getting facts from other libraries and brings us good information when we're looking at creating or changing a policy. Evaluate the proposed policy. You know, is it consistent with our other policies? Is it consistent with our mission statement? Is it consistent with laws or city policies? Is it reasonable? And then is it measurable? Can it be enforced? Do we have the tools to enforce it or measure it? Make sure that any policies are not discriminatory. Then the fourth step in policy development is write/adopt the policy. Kind of in this step, it talked about like the director may work with a board committee in the policy development. You know, that's something we can always think about if we decide that a policy is going to be too time consuming for, you know, our normal board meeting. But I think we've done okay with not having to do that, but it is something that if we want to do going forward, or if it's a big project, we could, you know, kind of split off and have just a committee work on the policy and bring it back to the full board. They suggest that you keep a full policy book in front of the board for the final approval. It's always good to have a book. I think this is later for when you're doing new board orientation or just to be able to review. Number 5 is schedule for policy review. You know, as we're looking at policies, we need to ensure that we're asking ourselves, is it still a viable reason to keep the policy? Is this policy still useful? Number 6 is make policies available. That's what we talked about before, like a policy manual for all new employees and all new trustees, posted on the website for patrons. And then it kind of talked about standards and accreditation, that obviously that the 4 categories of policies are circulation, collection, development, internet use, and personnel. And then there's policy writing assistance that we could always rely on from our state library district consultant, who's Marianne. Yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. More about the responsibilities of the board, and then more specifically the responsibilities of developing up policies and procedures. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Huh.
No questions? Okay, well, since there's not, we can go on to the next topic, which is the agenda item. So Rod, end that at 6:55.
Okay.
Thanks. So our first agenda item is to review tier standards section 4, library collections. It's just a review, no approval or anything. Did anybody have any? Do you want to go over it, Jamie, or?
I'll just hit the high points of it. Basically, like I said, again, this is just part of the accreditation process so that we can say that we've looked everything over. Section 4 is on library collections. The first tier that's involved, it says the library determines its current total annual circulation of library materials, which we do. We report that every year. The library provides access to current, local, county, and/or regional news sources. I will say right now, the answer to that would be no. Historically, we do, and we will again. We had discontinued our subscription to the Tri-County Times because they stopped covering Polk City. They used to put our calendar and stuff in there, and they don't anymore. And we had discontinued our Des Moines Register during COVID because it's a non-circulating item. And since nobody was coming in, there wasn't really much point in having it available, but we will get that reinstated here shortly. Every item, the next tier item or standard 31, every item in the library's collection is evaluated for retention, replacement, or withdrawal on a regular basis. And we look at all sections of the library each year, and anything that hasn't, depending on which section it's in, if it hasn't circulated in the last 3 to 5 years, it goes, it gets weeded. Sometimes we have multiple copies of books because it was a book club item or something. And so we may take it from 4 down to 2 or 2 down to 1, depending on how much it's circulating. But we definitely watch that collection. The library purchases or adds materials at regular intervals throughout the year. Absolutely. There's a major influx here just in the last month. You'll see it just because we're spending down that budget as the year comes to an end. The library provides materials in formats appropriate to the needs of special population. So that includes kind of the audiobooks. We don't have any Braille materials, but we do have large print, children's and young adult materials. And the library provides non-traditional physical collections for checkouts. So cake pans, hotspots, all those things fall into that. Yeah, so we are definitely, we're in compliance with all of that for our next accreditation.
Excellent. Okay, any questions or concerns on agenda item 1, library collections? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go to agenda item number 2, review the dress code policy.
So when I had attached that, in your packet, in 2019, we spent a lot of time updating and coming up with a new dress code policy. And it's not anything that I see any need to change at this point. So it's just part of that review process. So we can say it was reviewed once every 3 years.
Does anybody have any questions and concerns on the dress code policy? Okay, moving on to agenda item 3, approve Bridges renewal for 21-22.
So that is our online audiobook ebook platform. So basically that's up for approval. We should be getting the contract here within the next couple of weeks. They'd send out a notice. They said, have your library board get it on your agendas to be approved. And that way there's not a delay in signing when it comes available. So that's definitely something we will continue to participate in. As far as I'm concerned, that those numbers definitely increased during COVID. And they've been increasing steadily every year, especially the audiobook portion of it. We keep allocating more and more of our book on CD budget to digital audiobooks because you're hard pressed to even find a CD player anymore.
Okay.
As a board member, I personally love Bridges, and you already know that, so.
Let's see. Okay, so then any question? Well, so I need a motion to approve the Bridges renewal for
I'll
21.
make a motion to approve it.
So Rod with the motion. Can I get a second?
I use it a ton too, so I'll second.
Corey with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The Bridges renewal has been approved. We're going to go into item 4, select personnel committee to conduct the director evaluation. So this is kind of something that I asked her to put this on. We kind of have done it different ways in the past, and we're usually delinquent. So that's kind of why I wanted to throw it on, and it's usually my fault that we're delinquent. I've done it in the past. I've done it with Sarah in the past. I think I've done it with Angie in the past. I think one year I had to do it myself because we were so far late. Whenever we do it, we always try to reach out to, either the mayor and the city administrator to get information, just kind of from what we can't see. But is there anybody that would be willing to be part of this process? Is it, Jamie, your anniversary is in April, right?
My anniversary date's tomorrow, actually. Yeah.
Oh, happy anniversary. How many years is it?
4.
Wow. And then but increases are based on July 1st, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we have a little bit of wiggle room, and I'd be happy to help somebody or be part of it or go over it with her. But I just think it's good to have other people involved in the process versus, me to always do it, or she probably wants to see somebody else sometime. So I would take some, but we have to make it probably only 2 people, because if it's more than 2, then it's a quorum and it's a open meeting if you guys meet to talk about it. So I would say 2 is a good number. We have a form. I can get it to the people that are willing to be part of this process. So do I have anybody that is willing to take on this task this year?
I don't mind doing it, Lisa.
Okay,
I mean, it's always nice having 2. I think it's nice having 2 people do it, 'cause then you get someone else's perspective as well.
sure,
Um,
sure. Anybody else that would like to help Sarah? Are you raising your hand, Rod, or are you just waving?
My nose itches.
Oh, okay. Corey, are you waving your hand? Are you raising your hand?
Oh, I thought that Rod would raise his hand first. Whatever, if you need, I don't mind.
Corey, you'd
It's-
probably be good. You've been here a long time. You'd be a good. It's not too time consuming. So
oh, that's fine.
if you
No,
would be
that's-
willing, I would appreciate it. I can get you guys, I'll send out the form that we used last year from
Sure.
the city.
Um,
There's nothing that's been changed, has it, Jamie?
Mm, I'm
Jamie?
trying to remember which one. So the city, I'll have to say, I don't remember what you used. The city has created a standardized evaluation form now. That's one thing that Chelsea has done. I don't remember if that's the one you used last year
Okay,
or if it came out after that. I will check on that.
okay, perfect. Okay, thank you, you guys. Any questions on that? If not, then we're gonna go to item number 5, which I also asked Jamie to put on the agenda. So discuss the city manager recommendations for the fiscal year 2022 director salary. So Chelsea reached out to me a couple weeks ago regarding Jamie's increase. And there's a significant budgeted amount, more significant than our traditional that she gets this year. And it's been budgeted to get her to a higher level to make her equivalent or, equify, I don't know if that's a word, her with other managers within the city. So Chelsea had reached out to some of the other metro libraries similar size. There's really not very many, and got some information, I think mainly from like Bondurant and Adel. And so I guess I should have wrote down the percentage, but it's like, looks like it's probably about a 7, I guess I could, so she's currently at like 58,406, and they're have budgeted her for 65,257. So I just kind of, more than anything, wanted you guys to be aware of that. So when we, when we sit down to give her increase, or when she gets her increase in July, why that they budgeted that amount for her. I mean, personally, I think she deserves it. So, but I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. Do you
Agreed.
Yeah.
have any questions or
No
comments?
arguments here.
Pardon?
No arguments here about that.
Okay.
Should be higher.
Putting up with us.
Okay. All right, well, that's, okay, so no more questions, comments, concerns on that. We're gonna go to item 6, accept a gift of outdoor furniture valued at $870 from the Friends of the Polk City Library. What do we have to do for
Basically,
that?
by
Just,
accepting that gift, then it allows the city to get it insured. Basically, they bought it. Now we accept ownership of it and it will be insured.
I think this is the first time I've had to do anything like this. So does it, any like formal acceptance, or do we have to like
We had
make a
to do
motion
it for
to?
the sign, when the sign went on the front of the building.
Oh, okay.
And we had to do it for the teen furniture.
Do we have to like move to accept it then, or is it just?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll take a motion to accept the gift of outdoor furniture from the Friends of the Library, which is valued at $870.
I'll move to accept the gift from the Friends of the Library for the furniture mentioned.
So Corey, with the motion, can I get a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I'm gonna say Rod got in there and got that second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, so we have accepted the gift. Thank you to the Friends of the Library for gifting us with that. So the last topic on the agenda is to determine who is the next board education presenter and what topic they will present on. Rod, you're probably due
No,
since
I'm not,
you're new.
but I did one just a bit ago.
Did you do one? You did. See, shoot. Ah,
Not due. I'm
you're not
out.
due. So that means it's probably, because didn't Angie just do one too? Or do you have a list, Jamie, of who's done it? recently?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't
I
have a
lost
list. But
track.
I can look at minutes and figure out who's done it or agendas.
Does anybody want to volunteer? So Jamie doesn't have to do all that hard work.
I was just thinking, I would accept that. I may, or we're gonna be gone that first week of May. I don't know if I'll be back in time that Monday night. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it to next month's board meeting anyway.
So along that lines, there's a home track meet that I might be at. Like I was thinking, especially if it's an in-person meeting, if I could call in, I might be able to do it. But does anybody else have any conflict with the next?
Actually,
Monday?
now that you say that, I had my week, we're gonna be gone the next Monday, but I am also working at the track meet. It's a home track meet. I forgot Bill asked me to help.
So unless like Rod, Sarah, and Angie want to potentially, I mean, I hate to move it because of that. Or do you want to check in on it a little bit later? I can call from there. I just have to I won't be able to be in person.
And if we don't have board education at a meeting, it is not the end of the world.
Maybe
Or I
we
can
should,
come up with something as well.
okay, or yeah, maybe look at the list to see who's due.
Yeah, because it is the North Polk track meet on May 3rd. That's the first Monday. Because I remember thinking that when Bill asked me, I said, oh yeah, but I'd have to tell you guys I would be gone.
I don't think we should do board education if, you know what I mean, if we have several individuals out.
Okay.
Do we have enough for a meeting and is everyone else going to be here if Lisa and I aren't here? Or Lisa, you said you would call in or let's stuff.
If I can, I'll call in. I mean, they could do, if they had Jamie, if they had Angie, Sarah, and Rod, they could still have a meeting. I mean, worst case scenario, somebody else could run it and I could just call in as a quorum. Or, I mean, like tonight I had a track meet too, but it worked out really well that I was going to call from my car, but I only had 2 kids competing in one event each, so it worked. We'll just kind of make sure that Angie can be here as well. You too, Sarah, Rod, don't have any.
Not that I know of right at the moment, no.
Okay. Then let's
Just a
just kind of, go ahead.
Oh, just as I said, I just did a quick look. So you did board education tonight. I did it in March. February was Rod and January was Sarah. So I'm guessing prior to that was probably Angie.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably should be up for June then. That's probably
Okay.
my turn.
Okay.
Because I think I did go after you last time too, Lisa. I think you did one and then I did one the next. So it's probably the
sounds-
cycle. That's probably right.
Okay.
And Lisa, while I was in there, I also did a quick look too, and we did use the new city form for my evaluation last year.
Okay. So I can find it and send out a blank one to the two, Corey and Sarah. All right. Any other, I guess, comments or questions or concerns on that? If not, so then the next meeting would be at this point, May 3rd. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
I
the
could
motion
move-
to adjourn.
Oh, go ahead.
Sarah with the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Corey with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. So we'll plan on the 3rd, and I'll maybe reach out to Angie to make sure she can be there as well. And if something comes up and you know you can't be here, let us know.